I'm glad Holcomb was one of the coordinators for this, and had some help, particularly from people, participants, and members of this faith community here at First Presbyterian. Yeah, well, thank you for saying that, because I have hearing aids and I never know if I talk too loud or not loud enough. I'm getting to that age of needing spare parts, so that's what and again, I'm Thad Holcomb, and again, I've had the assistance of some folks here at First Press, and it's coordinated. It's called the Matthew 25 group. So it's good to have you here. I want to say a little bit about this, Jacob. We're going to open up. My good friend Steve Kipadu is going to open us with prayer and comments, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dan Wildcat, faculty at Haskell, and he's kind of going to take it there. And whatever he decides after he's finished, I'm going to come back to you and maybe take some more questions. And also to remind you, one thing we're going to do tonight, other people have contacted and said, what can we do individually? Well, we're not going to discuss this as far as the public forum individually. Those may come up, and once we find out, we need to have a way to contact you. So we have over there on the table some place that you put your email and your name if you want to be contacted by the individual needs, like do they need more firewood on the campus for their fire? You know, do they need help in the kitchen? You know, all that kind of. We'll be able to contact you that way if we have that. But also, there are probably not enough. There was right there is the how to contact state and federal legislators. Now, I know a lot of you had, but if you had, do it again. Next week, do it again. Next week, do it again. So we just got to keep the ripples going. All right, enough said. Steve Perdue.
Good evening, everyone, and it's great to have all of you here and to be here, which is truly not a habit time. We're here for a very troubling time that we're experiencing now, all people in society. I want to thank the First Presbyterian Church and my brother, Reverend Thad Holcomb, for the use of this church as sanctuary, as I view it, in our traditional Native American ways, in our places of worship. Much of our worship is in a Indian teepee, or what we call a longhouse, but it's for the same purpose. We all believe in a creator, and there's a different way and a different path to heaven and with the guidance of our creator. I want to give prayer, and you will hear some Native American words of my language as I give prayer. After the prayer, I want to make a couple comments about the purpose of why we're here. So you can pray along with me. Kosman, Creator, thank you for this wonderful day. And thank you, Kosman, Creator, God, for all the blessings that you've given us. And I want to ask you, Kosman, I'm not because we're in very troubled times. I offer prayer to you. I'm asking for hope. But Coastline Creator, I'm asking that you come and be with us and give us your hand. I'm asking you more than hope, but asking. My answers told me that in real troubled times, ask Creator, ask Coastline for help, and He'll come. Now, I feel that. I want you to feel that the Spirit is here. Coastline the Creator. The Haskell students, really children, are in real troubled times. It's trauma, but they're in real troubled times. They should not have to be experiencing Coastline, the experience that they're facing. They should be there to study the books and to learn and to listen to the professors and gain education. They should not be troubled by whether their professor's going to be there tomorrow or their class is canceled. So we want you to be with them, Coastline, and us, and give us your guidance. And we do ask. We ask for your help. We plead with you for your help, as you've always been there, and always will be. Big which is thank you in my language. Thank you. I want to make a comment about the purpose. Think of it this way. Take a look at me, for example. And I'm saying this because this is what we're facing. But it will also show you the purpose and the power. I'm what is called a federally recognized Indian. There are Native American people here of the same situation, a unique situation. Dan Wildcat is a federally recognized Indian. It's a unique relationship. I'm in a unique relationship as other Native American people under a treaty that was made with the United States of America. Indian people, sometimes the term is used, treaty Indians. I don't mind that term because I am a treaty Indian. A special relationship with the United States of America. I don't know if you know it, but right outside the door here, this church, this congregation, erected a land acknowledgement sign, a beautiful sign at the front door. It recognizes the land, Mother Earth. Once this was soil, this was prairie probably. This was right here where we're sitting. And I mention that because in our Indian treaties, the reason for Indian education is because Indian tribes, Indian people gave up their land, every acre of what became the United States of America, the most powerful nation on earth. I have served Uncle Sam and was proud to serve in that honor, not only for the United States of America, but for all our freedom. Indian treaties. If there's one thing that I can relay today. Indian treaties are made for Indian education in perpetuity. Perpetuity is, of course, forever. And and Indian treaties are the supreme law of the land, so ruled by the United States Supreme Court in 1832. The supreme law of the land. Haskell Indian Nations University was established because of Indian land. The founding fathers of America, the presidents, the Congress, said in exchange for the land, we're going to provide you with an education. That's why we're here tonight. It was established in 1884, but think of yourself being here. You are representing what was said to Indian people in 1884. That's what you're representing here. Understand that. Understand that you're supporting, we hope, that's why you're here. You're standing with Indian people in perpetuity. That applause was a prayer answer that I gave. Thank you. I want to turn this back over to my brother Thad Holcomb, and we'll look forward to the evening. One other thing, and whenever you speak like this, there's certainly things you forget. I have grandchildren. I'm not coming here for the purpose and the fight lightly. I have grandchildren attending classes at Haskell, and they're almost in a trauma situation about their classes being canceled. So I've got some skin in this game. Okay.
I am introducing, I don't really need to, Dan Wildcat, who has, as most of you know, has written a couple of books. If you haven't, get them, read them. They're great. They're sneaky. Well, this doesn't say much in the introduction. So, thank you, Dan. And he's going to be kind of moderating and sharing with us. He'll describe that. Thank you.
Sunday Kugasate. Thank you so much, Thad, and to the Presbyterian Church, and to my, in my native way, my brother, Steve Cadu. Steve and I, this isn't our first rodeo, Steve. I hope we have a few more ahead of us. Not over this topic, I hope. But, so, I want to make a few comments, share some information, what I know, and I want to make something very clear. I'm not representing anyone. I'm not representing Haskell. I'm not representing any group. The words I'm going to speak are mine. I offer them humbly. I offer them honestly. Tell you what I know. I've had the honor, really, to be in the president's office at Haskell Indian Nations University as an interim president. The joke at Haskell is Wildcat served about every position there is at Haskell at some point in time, but dog catcher, that's above my pay grade, I guess. So I'm speaking for myself. I don't think anything I'm going to say is entirely idiosyncratic. I think there would be a lot of people who might agree with me, but I welcome, disagreement. We do have student government in the House, so after I get done and maybe field some questions, and I'd like to recognize, our student government leaders that are here in the House, and any of my Haskell colleagues that would like to share a few words. So again, thank you to everyone who made this possible. Thank you to several of you in this audience, more than a handful, that sent me emails this past week saying, Dan, we saw what happened at Haskell. It's horrific. It's troubling. In many ways, it's unconscionable. And yet it happened. And said, how can we help? And I said, well, sit tight, because we're trying to work through this in-house, and we will share information, as we can. So that's the first point I wanted to make. I'm not representing Haskell. I'm not representing anyone. I'm just one person, one humble Zoyaha, Yuchi, Muskogee Indian, who wants to share with you what I've seen at Haskell. And again, I'll just start off by expressing the incredible appreciation that I've heard from my colleagues at Haskell about the outpouring of concern and support. Many of my colleagues have received the same kind of emails that I received. Faculty Senate yesterday, we've issued a statement, the Faculty Senate has, and really it begins, or ends with an expression of the gratitude we have for this kind of support in this room. So let's start with some facts and why really one of the situations that makes this meeting necessary. I don't know of any institution of higher education in the United States where the president cannot speak unless his statements are cleared in Washington, D.C. by the Bureau of Indian Education. I invited him tonight. He told me this afternoon, Dan, I was not approved to attend that meeting. So I want you to understand that the lack of communication has nothing to do with our president, who's working behind the scenes tirelessly to address this horrific situation that our students, our staff, everyone on campus experienced last Friday. But we're having this meeting because people reach out and they want to know, how can we help? How can we help? And when you don't hear something from leadership at Haskell, people might think, oh, well, I guess they really don't care, or really don't need our help. And I want you to know, we need your help. We need your help. But this is the kind of system that we are in. And so it makes it difficult to communicate with the public about things that are going. And this is why, so often when you see Haskell stories, and there's always the line, well, Haskell was reached out for comment and no comment. Well, that's because, by the time we send proposed comments up the ladder, it's a week later. And usually they're not approved anyway, but, this is the challenge. This is the challenge. So I'm speaking unofficially, and I can do that. I have a right to my opinions, my views, and but I'm not going to get into that. I just wanted to share some facts. So that's the first fact. Don't read the lack of public comments by our president as him not caring or recognizing and appreciating the incredible support that we recognize, appreciate, and need from all of you. So I just want to say that, okay, right up front. I also want to point out that, one of the early discussions we had when Thad called me up, he says, hey, we've got people who are willing to volunteer. If you need bathroom scrubbed, and we do, 200, this is the number, I was given today by the administration. We have interior space 270,000 square feet on our campus. We now have 4 custodians, dorms, classrooms, labs, administrative offices. We've got 4 custodians. Some of our local tribes have reached out and are going to work with us on their dime to provide possibly some custodial. But here's the issue with volunteers. Some of you may know this. Again, what makes Haskell unique? Volunteers on our campus, like our instructors, like anyone who works on the Haskell campus, have to go through a federal background check before you can be on our campus to volunteer. Would it surprise you if I said that on a good day, that means 4 to 6 weeks to get that completed? I don't know how long it'll take, since some of the people who are doing that now have been fired. But, so I said, Dad, even this becomes difficult. People want to volunteer, they want to help. Well, get in line. So here's what I can tell you right now. Steve used the word trauma. That is not an understatement. Our students, and I'm going to recognize our student leadership, as I said when I get done, and ask our student leadership to say a few things. But this really hurt us all. Here's one of the contradictions. We're in this incredible bureaucratic system, and yet at Haskell, and some of you who've been there with us at programs we've done and things, some of you that have had long-term relationships with us, I think you'll know this, that in spite of all the bad things you'll read in the paper about Haskell, the one thing that we have at Haskell is a sense of family. And we hold that preciously. We consider ourselves a family. And so our family took a very hard hit last Friday. So, what can you do? What can you do? I was in a meeting with administration today. It appears, this is my impression, I'm not speaking for anyone, but it appears we've just about exhausted every kind of remedy. It doesn't look like this horrible event, that action will be rescinded. If it does, it's not going to happen right away. So how do we make up for this incredible loss of personnel on our campus? How do we ensure we can honor the mission and vision of our institution we promised our students and their tribal nations who have entrusted them to Haskell for their education and care? Here's where there's going to be an opportunity for the public. I was told, since it looks like we've about exhausted every possible remedy within the government, some of you know we do have something, and again, it's an institution that's had its up and downs, called the Haskell Foundation, a nonprofit 501c3 that operates only to serve Haskell, but is independent of the Bureau of Indian Education and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Completely autonomous. There's going to be an opportunity for people who want to make contributions this next week to help us meet some of the services we need, because the thought is we'll use our foundation to maybe bring some people back who already have a federal background check and bring them back. Basically, what we want to try to do is bring back every one of those employees. That would- And I don't want to use the term laid off. That sounds like, oh, they were just laid off. No, they were terminated. There's no expectation necessarily that they're ever going to come back. And again, this is, to kind of explain some of the incredible hurt and sorrow about this. Now, some of you will know this, many of you won't. When we had hiring freezes, we can contract, lecturers and teachers. They're not federal employees, but we do a contract with them. Lately, it's been an Alaska corporation that performs the service for us, and we will do a contract with them to contract us, find someone to teach social work, introduction to art, whatever, because we're not, maybe don't have the money or can't hire full-time positions there. At least I know 2, maybe 3 of the people fired on the academic side. The sad part is, a year ago, they were contractors, and they wanted desperately to be permanent employees at Haskell because they love that institution, our institution, so much. And we had just hired them with the promise of a career at Haskell Indian Nations University, and they were terminated. If they had stayed as contractors, they'd still have a job, but they were there for more than just the job. I want to get back to this family, sense of family. They were there because of the love of our students, the love of that campus, and what it represents. So, Monday, it will be widely, publicly shared what the needs are with some dollar amounts, goals of what it's going to cost. And it was suggested to me today that we will use the Haskell Foundation to meet these needs. You can make contributions. We live in that, touchscreen world. So when you go to the website for the Haskell Foundation, there's a way you can touch the screen with your credit card, with your e-check, and make a contribution right on the spot. So we're going to give you an opportunity to help. In the meantime, keep writing letters, expressing your opinion about what's happened. I do want to go very quickly over this kind of what we're looking at in store too, because it's pretty daunting. Now, some of you will know this. If we got any real news geeks or freaks in here that are always trying to follow what's going on right now, this won't be news to you. But some of this was news to me today when it was shared with me. So we've been besieged by this whole slew of executive orders. Well, the executive order about to look at federal agencies, offices, and departments, and simply just carte blanche eliminate all probationary employees that hit Haskell on last Friday. It hit NSF, Tuesday or was it Wednesday? It hit NSF. That's why NSF lost 167 people. Just carte blanche, they're probationary, they can be gone, okay? That's one. We also had a judge rule that yes, they could go ahead with deferred retirements, this plan to buy out, kind of give you an early out and be paid for it. We did have employees at Haskell who took that, so we'll be losing them over the course of the next few months. Now, you might say, well, okay, you just talked about contracting. Why don't you just take those people that, custodians, administrative assistants, faculty, counselors who were fired, why don't you just reach out to your contractor and contractor services now? Because this administration has said you can't do that. You are prohibited, these employees that were recently fired, you cannot do a workaround by thinking you're gonna now contract with them for services. Not allowed. But they can't control the Haskell Foundation. And so so we've got that. We do have a hiring freeze. Technically a hiring freeze for all of our regular positions. That's an executive order. Some of you have heard this. I can't listen to the news more than about half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening, because otherwise, I just don't think I could handle it. So I take it in a dose in the morning, a dose in the afternoon. Some of you've heard this, but the budgetary guidance, if we get a budget, what is that, March 14th? We've got to have a budget. But the guidance is, once we get a budget, the formula for hiring or replacing positions that we lost due to this purge, you get the opportunity to hire one for every 4 you lost. This is the situation that we're in right now. We currently discovered today at the university that contracts, so some of you who are from higher education know there are all kinds of systems you use in the registrar's office and everything for student records. We happen to use a system called CAMS. It's a critical system for keeping all data about your students and, you know, all kinds of student-related information, but particularly academic records. So we have a CAMS system. And we were told today, when we submitted our contract to renew CAMS, that it would be reviewed.
What?
And so now we wonder how many of our contracts now are going to be scrutinized before. We've never experienced this before. Never. We've never experienced this before. So those are some of the things that we're dealing with. I know it's frustrating. The president was invited to be here, and he did what he's required to do. He made a request to be present today and was told no. And so, I'm here, I'm just sharing what I know with you, and I just can't express enough how important this community support is. And I think I've been in a lot of meetings. I probably have the good fortune, because of my research and my work, to travel across Indian country more than most of our faculty, and the meetings I keep attending, people much wiser than me keep telling me we're living in a transformative moment. Transforming to what? That's the question, isn't it? That's really the question. I want to encourage you all. Stay attentive, be mindful, and I assure you, Haskell will provide opportunities for you to support and to contribute. And I know all of us on our campus just, we'll get through this together. We won't get this together if we start fighting amongst ourselves. But if we stay together, we will get through this. Now, I'm going to stop right there. I talked about 5 minutes longer than I wanted to, but I kind of wanted to paint a little picture of where we're at and give you a little backdrop to some of the challenges we have. Okay? And if anyone has a question now that they'd like to ask me, I'll try to answer. If I can, I'll tell you I can't. And then I'd like to recognize our student leadership. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Suzanne Heller.
Here, do we have a second microphone? Oh, I think we do. Here, hold on.
I'm Suzanne Ellis. I have a half Kickapoo grandson. He still has 10 years before he will arrive at your university. I want to volunteer. So are they going to restrict me from doing my background check? For any of us that want to do a background check, how do we go about doing that?
So here's the challenge right now with background checks. You can't just go in and say, I want a background check. It would have to be initiated by one of our offices, and then here's the other wrinkle. It costs us, I believe the price tag's about $500 to do a background check.
So I can give your...
I know you can, but I guess what I'm saying is, right now, I don't think we're at that point. Who knows where we'll be a month from now? I mean, honestly, who knows? But I'd say right now, sit tight. The spirit, your passion, I want to honor that. I just want to say right now, probably premature, but we may get to that point. I don't know. But thank you so much. And this again, see, it just kind of shows you this system we're in, it's very difficult to work. So
I was born in Sioux City, Iowa. My name is Sue. And I'm supposed to be part native, but I'm not.
well, listen, I'm glad I met a girl named Sue. So thank you, Sue. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna go here and get around. Yeah.
Dan, I'm Rachel Reed. We know each other.
Yes.
I had a background check when I taught at Haskell, and I had several background
Sure.
checks when I was at Fort Leavenworth, on the outside.
Yeah.
And now I'm retired from federal
Right.
service. Would I need to get another background check?
Quite possibly. Again, I'll tell you how kind of crazy this is. One time, I hired a gentleman, part-time to teach math. His significant other was at KU getting an advanced degree, and he has a PhD in math. And I met with him. He said, I want to teach at Haskell, and he seemed very qualified, overqualified, in fact. I mean, we just needed someone for college algebra. This guy had a PhD in math, and I said, oh, one other thing. I said, you're going to have a background check. He says, no problem. He says, my last job was intelligence analyst with the CIA. And I thought, okay, no problem. Well, we sent that forward, and guess what we were told? No, We're gonna have to do our own background check. So, anyway, but, so you may very well, yeah, okay. Up here and then you, okay?
Are there things we could do privately, like in our own homes? For example, could we offer tutoring to students where they came to us? Or maybe make food for students, some type of student support we could do that didn't involve like being on campus?
That's a great question, and I think this would be a great thing to maybe talk to our student leadership about, and setting something like that up. I mean, yeah, I like that kind of creative thinking, yes, And back here.
Thank you. I'm Reverend Anna Schaus, and my question is, if you're free to say, what are our elected folks doing, especially Senator Moran and Representative Mann? Are they helping, hindering, doing nothing, what?
Okay, I can tell you what I've been told, and I've been told that they have both been very, very active in trying to get this action rescinded. They've been active in trying to get it rescinded. But we see where that's gotten. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the realities that we're dealing with right now. But yes, they have been supportive, and you know, our tribal nations are starting to line up and support Haskell. I'd be remiss if I didn't remind all of you this, and again, those of you who've heard me speak know this is how I look at Haskell. We have in our backyard, and I'm honored to work at essentially what is the United Nations of Indigenous Education in North America. There's no other institution like Haskell. We have over 100 federally recognized tribes on our campus. Since COVID, every semester we've been growing. And I can tell you this, you know, if staffing remains, this is a discussion that's going on. Just what I've heard is that someone said, well, suppose we can't get staff back up like the way we've done. We've been building since COVID, 750, 800, 900, we hit 1,000. We were thinking about maybe a goal of 1,100 for next fall. If we can't get some of this repaired, we will be forced to reduce our admissions to probably 800 students. 300 less students we could serve, because we just don't have the personnel to do so. Yeah, we've got, yeah.
And my name's David Collins. I just wanted to say that in regard to the other question about what our senators and representatives are doing, they can do an even better job if they get swamped with letters, emails, phone calls. So I encourage everybody to do that.
Okay, go here and then over here. Okay.
John Darrowmore, do you foresee follow-up meetings to this? Because it sounds like there's gonna be a lot of changing, a lot of things changing. But how that's gonna be reported on, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So if there were follow-up meetings to this, I think it'd be very helpful. There's a lot of people here who.
There are a lot of people here, and I'll tell you what, you know, if Thad's willing to take on the heavy lifting and keep this going, I think this should be the first of several community meetings. And there's gonna be some time in the future. Let's see. We had a hand up over here, okay. Right here, and then you can have it right back behind you. And then I'm gonna get off this microphone here soon, because I want you to hear from some of the incredible student leadership we have here. We got You gotta see our best and brightest.
That's right.
And, you know, we're really lucky to have so many fine students. Yes.
You mentioned Senator Moran and Representative, what's his name?
Mann.
Dan, but what about Marshall? Has Senator Marshall been good?
Actually, now, believe it or not, I was told initially that Marshall and Mann both weighed in and said, you know,
Okay.
don't do this.
Mercy Francisco. So I think we need to ask for their help by saying, what can you say you won't approve until this is rectified?
Yeah.
Because I think it's not enough when you're in politics to just say, I want this one thing. I think you have to say, I will give you something you want when this is accomplished. But the other thing I wanted to stand up and say, we have some really fabulous people in this community who have helped out. And one group that I want to mention is Just Food. So I'm wondering if some of us were able to volunteer, if we could have an ancillary donation or a place to pick up food at the Haskell campus. And if we could have a list of the things that you think people want that are good to eat. Black beans,
I love it. No.
you know, masa.
Yeah.
And to say, because I want to help Haskell, and I also want to help those individuals who have lost their jobs to make sure we can keep them housed and fed for the next few weeks.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And, hey, Martha, would you hand that back there to this lady back there? Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to say, I think Thad made this point earlier, but I'll reiterate it. I've heard from a number of people, including people within our Congress people's offices, their aides and whatnot. The most effective thing you can do is to call on the phone. If you have precious time, spend it on calling. Sorry, I'm feedback in here.
And calling the local offices, not Washington DC. Call the state offices because you're more likely to get through. And there are a bunch of different state offices.
Can you hear what she said? So call the state offices instead of in DC. So all of your Congress people have offices within the state. Call them weekly, be explicit. Marcy gave good advice about things to ask them or say to them. They log phone calls, and if you give your zip code, they log that too, and it registers in a way that any other way of contacting them doesn't. And I'm hearing this directly from people who are in the know about this more than I personally am.
Thank you for sharing that. And there's another gentleman right in front of you. Yes, right here. Oh, okay. Oh, well, right here, okay.
I just have a quick question. There is another Native American college, is there not, in New Mexico?
There are only two colleges that are directly funded by the Bureau of Indian Education, Department of Interior, and that's Southwest Indian Polytechnic Institute, and they got hit harder than we did.
Okay, that was my
Yes, they
question.
did.
I haven't heard
They
any
did,
of that.
yeah.
Is there anything that you can see that lawsuits or lawyers in any way would help with any of this?
We do have faculty and staff at Haskell that are part of a bargaining unit. They are unionized employees, and I understand that union is looking at maybe working with other federal employee unions to join class action suits. But that'll take time.
But at least it's registered.
Yeah, and tribes are launching suits too. And I saw over here, and then, These are really good comments and questions, and I just want to second that. I think we have a lot of good work ahead of us. Let's make this a transformative moment for Haskell, for the Lawrence community, and show a whole new kind of relationship, and that we can embody and really do good work.
And I have some hard questions.
Yes.
When you mentioned that, I had a lot of other questions, but after I heard what you had said about the foundation, and it cannot be messed with by the federal government.
Right.
When was the last time you talked to the foundation?
I talked to Bo, the president of the board, about a month ago, but I was just on a call with a foundation board member this afternoon.
Are there any foundation members here today?
I think I see one, yes, Jerry Tuckman is in the house.
Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry's here, yeah.
Jerry, when was your last meeting with the foundation?
Well, physically, it's been roughly 3 months.
3 months ago, he said this.
And we're dependent on them.
We're doing
When we don't have a
Well-
foundation, what's that?
our meetings because
Here.
they don't have. You know, like everything else, our foundation board members, they do it just totally voluntary. And some of them come from Arizona, some of them come from Mississippi. We've got one from New York. And as a result, we do a lot of Zoom meetings. And that's really true since we had COVID, which has been a little while now. But you're right, we need to meet in person. We try to meet twice a year, commencement week, and then the other week is when we formally had homecoming, so it's in the fall of October. But that's really not enough. You're right, we do not meet like we should. But these people have to pay their own way and stuff like that, and, you know, we try to make it convenient for them, so they don't have to do that.
And that's why it scares me so much as a former student and as a coach and as a director at Haskell, is that I was a nice member of my family to go to school here. And it has been really great to be able to represent Haskell throughout the United States by going to different reservations to recruit those students. I went probably to 60 reservations for 13 years of different ones, all over the United States, California, Florida, New York, Washington, and the mid-states also. And if we don't do anything quickly, Haskell will close. And so that's why I'm asking the foundation, if as you say, Dan, that's one of the ways they can't touch us. But we can't sit back and wait. When your last meeting, Jerry, was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and that's, as I said, that was Zoom meetings.
So nothing can be done, anything. You can't build a building without funding. You cannot buy groceries without funding. If we're gonna have to depend on the foundation, then we have to do something. We can't wait 3 weeks to have a meeting. I tried to get a hold of the president for 2 weeks now, and have not had a response. So I think it's time that we become real and do something about this, because we don't have much time.
You know, one of the things I did want to say, for those that wanted to donate, you know, monetarily to Haskell, if you give it to Haskell, it can go right straight to the U.S. Treasury.
Yeah.
And that's why we have the foundation. And I know Mr. Postoke is saying some negative things about the foundation, but it still is the only basic avenue that we have of receiving. anything from you, the public.
It was not intended to be negative. It was intended so that Haskell will not close.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, and I totally agree.
Thank you, Mr. Prescott. I really appreciate your candor and honesty. One more question, and then I'm gonna recognize our student leadership here and let them have the floor, and they can talk about what students are concerned about, what they're thinking about, and what they're trying to do.
Under giving to the foundation, I'm Larry Fry.
Yeah.
Giving to the foundation, can you give to memorial funds?
Yes,
Are
you can
they
do that.
controlled in someome's name and that sort of thing?
That's correct.
And if that could be published, maybe that could facilitate some people who know, some people they'd like to honor.
Great idea, and that, I will share that information. Okay, at this point, I, really, let's keep, oh, yes, Steve.
This evening, I talked about the purpose why we're here. And there are demonstrations all across the United States that are opposing the cutbacks to federal agencies, and Haskell is a federal agency. One thing we do see, Dan, that is having some effect is legal intervention. Not being a lawyer, but but at this point, the legal people are not trying to win a case, but the legal people in other situations are asking for an injunction to stop the situation. As the speakers, as we all know, it costs money to put bread on our table.
Yeah.
What is the thought? Has there been any discussion with your group at Haskell?
Yeah.
About a filing of a lawsuit?
This is a great segue, okay, because our students, I know, I had a discussion with our student leadership, or some of our students the other day, and I know this is something they've asked about. You know, how do we launch a lawsuit about this injustice that we've experienced? I know we've got some attorneys in the house. So at this point, I would like to introduce Angela Atone Salazar. She is enrolled in Wichita, I think adopted Apache, but our Student Government Association president. I'll let her pick this up.
Asli Hangdadesh, Ashir Sishar, Dadit Hiri, Angel Aton Elzarius, Kitty Kitty Dutsi. Hello, hold up. I'm still getting used to introducing myself in my language, my apologies. How are you all? Today is a good day. My name is Angel Aton Elzarius. I am Wichita. Yes, I was also adopted Apache by my family. And yeah, there was a bit of mispronunciation with my name. Fully understand that happens like my whole life. I get it, it's not the easiest name. But yeah, I am your Student Government Association president, so I am here to represent the Haskell student body. And I'm nothing without the students, obviously. I'm nothing without my executive board, you know. So like all of the concerns that I've heard, all of the concerns that we've answered is because of the executive board that's behind me that has been talking to the students, that has been coming back to me with everything that they have said, you know. And as we all have said today, Haskell didn't just lose a community, we lost a family. You know, that's the difference, is that when you hear about Haskell, you don't hear the word community, you hear the word family. you hear us say hello, like brother, sister, aunt, uncle, you know, grandma, grandpa, however we have claimed these people. And for that to get taken from us in a day is not easy, you know, that's very hard to cope with, you know, because a lot of these staff and instructors that we're taking, we chose them specifically for our classes, you know, like to us these weren't just classes to get us away from our day, these were interactions that we got to have with these people, you know, these were us getting to sit down and talk to someone who they came to Haskell and became a part of that community because they knew that Haskell is hope for Indian country. They knew that, and they wanted to be able to be that family member for the Haskell students to lean on. That is why, as Dan Wildcat said earlier, that a lot of those instructors that we did just lose were on contract for a long time, but from being on contract, they fell in love with Haskell, they fell in love with teaching these students, and they looked at it as more than just getting to teach. They seen it as a gathering, you know, and that's the biggest thing is for natives is that we need to gather, you know, and that's why looking around this room, it does fill my heart with joy that we all care so much, you know. And one of the biggest questions that I did hear earlier was about feeding the students, was about helping us to get, you know, stuff like that. So you can talk to Carrie Cornelius in the library. They do host a lot of gathering events there. I personally work with Haskellite sometimes for that. So Haskellite, actually, they are one of the other places that does help students extraordinarily. With us, they give like warm food, they give, you know, just drinks for us too, and y'all can work with in conjunction to donate stuff there to, you know, they taking clothes, they taking food, they taking anything like that. So y'all can work with Haskellite to do that. And y'all can also work with the library to host potlucks as well. You know, that's a thing that I know helps a lot with communities. And one big thing that's been going on with it is that prayer is very big for us, you know, so we've been having sweats, you know, all the time, and what I've heard is that we do need more wood on campus as well. So the biggest things for students right now is to have that sense of family, you know, that's what we look for when we come to Haskell, you know, that's the thing is that when I chose Haskell, I chose it because I knew that I could find family regardless. You know, I knew that I knew that Haskell is always a choice. You know, it's not something you have to go to. It's not something you have to be at. It is a choice that we as students make and the staff that was there made as well, you know, and I'm the same way I hate the euphemism of layoff. That makes it seem like they already had a job put in place that they were gonna go to, you know, and that makes it seem as if they were ready for this to happen, you know. No, this was a termination, you know, and that is how those letters were written. That is how they were written. They were said like, you're being laid off for failure to, you know, work in your position, which that makes it to where these staff feel like they haven't been helping the students as much as they have, whereas they have, you know, like the day that it happened, I've seen so many students crying around me because of the fact that the staff that we lost, they ensured us that we were on the right path, you know, they looked at us and even without having any connection to us, whether they were, like, they didn't have to be our teacher, they didn't have to be anything like that, they just had it in their hearts to speak to us because they seen that family within us, you know. And that's the thing that you don't get at all universities. You know, all the other universities, the teachers teaching like 200 to 300 students per, they don't have time to talk to that many students. Whereas at Haskell, classes are filled maybe 20, 30 people, to where you get to know your teacher one-on-one, or instructor, you get to know them one-on-one. They have their office hours posted, you get to hang out with these people, you get to know them on a deeper level than just as an instructor, you know. They come to meals with you, they sit with you, they pray with you. You have to love someone a lot to pray for them. That is something that I have learned, you know, is that with Haskell, we show each other love even without knowing one another, because that is who natives are. We know each other's spirit before we know the person. And I get so many people are like, Haskell's gonna close, Haskell's gonna close. If it took 140 years for us to build this, it's gonna take that same amount of time to break this down. I do appreciate Dr. Wildcat for allowing me to be up here to speak for us. And as I look around the room, I see students here. I see a lot of my friends in here that they've helped me to be able to speak in front of you all here today. You know, and I see previous instructors in here too that during the course of choosing my career paths, I am in social work and American Indian Studies. As a lot of you know, those career paths are not easy decisions to make, but the professors that I chose made it to where I felt that that was the right decision. Sarah Dubles is one of the staff that was terminated, you know, and I had her since I was a freshman. She was one of the first teachers I had at Haskell, you know, and she was one of the people that affirmed my decision of going into social work because she made me realize that I'm so much more than what I think I am. And that's what Haskell does, is it makes it to where you realize it just takes one. You know, it just takes one person to stand, it just takes one person to send a letter, it just takes one person to make that call. And that is what I urge y'all to do the most to help us right now, is to make those calls, to write those letters, you know, to say like, hey, these students have lost more than just instructors, they have lost their family, you know, because if this was just about education, we probably wouldn't have been as hurt.
One of the things I want to share to you real quick is that most of you are probably Presbyterian. I am, oh, you're not? Oh, okay, sorry. Well, for those of you who are Presbyterian, I have another life other than working at Haskell. I do work at Haskell in the University Services Department. But what I want to say to those of you who are Presbyterian or even any other denomination is you can really help by reaching out to the national denomination and asking them to write a statement to Washington. That is going to be a powerful statement. And don't just talk to the General Assembly people. You know, you want to talk to Presbyterian women, your women's society, whoever's in there. There's different groups in the denomination that you can go to, and they can reach out and make a statement that's so much louder than what we can say. And you know, in our Presbyterian brief statement of faith, it says, "To hear the voices long silenced," and that was written by one of my mentors. He was from Alaska. He was Simpson, and he got to serve on that board and wrote that statement on there. But and so, you know, that's our goal, that's our challenge, that's our creed, you know, that says this is what we want to do. And we need people to hear our voices, because this was not done, you know, oh, well, we'll just do this. They were sending a message by what they sent, by doing what they did to Haskell. They were letting people know that Haskell is nothing, we can squash them. But they don't know, what they don't know is the Native American spirit. You know, they don't know how much we believe in the power of prayer. And they don't know that we can actually make things happen when we bind together like we are tonight. I really appreciate the elders' words this morning, or at the beginning. But the last thing I want to say is I appreciate what the students are saying, and I, you know, they have a lot more that they can say than we can. We're a little bit limited. But in terms of what you can do to help, you know, like I said, I work in the University Services Department, so I see a lot of students that come in and they sometimes look at that office as a dumping ground of complaints, but things that they wish they had. Now, at Haskell, at the administration building, they do have a pantry. And it's just mainly like they open up every day throughout the week. And one of their requests, I will say, is that they wish they had more food in there. You know, and yes, a lot of it is like stuff that can hold over for a long time. But if you have stuff that, you know, let's say you've got a bunch of oranges, you know, or let's say you have an event and you have a lot of food left over, you know, you can take it to one of the residential halls and they'll have something good to eat that night. You know, that's what we do when we have events. And, or, you know, if you want to request space on the campus and have an event and then invite all the Haskell students, that might be a way for you to do something without having to do a major background check. So like, oh, you know, we're the denominations all want to have like a little get together and we want all the students to come and we'll feed you. Whatever they want to do. You know, maybe it's just to let the students say what they want to say. You know, but you can be kind of creative about that. And they do, we do have an office, the cultural coordinator. He's always requesting for gift cards, whether it's for food or whether it's for gas, for anything really. Because not only do we have on-campus students that are really in need for things, but we have off-campus students as well. And they need diapers, they need formula, they need all kinds of things. And I would encourage you to kind of get creative about how you might be able to reach out to our students. So, thank you.
So, dua parmarmi, wawaka kokoko. I'm Eric Anderson. I'm from Citizen Potawatomi Nation. I'm one of the historians at Haskell. I teach in the Indigenous American Indian Studies program. It's really heartening to see everybody here tonight. I'll keep my comments brief, but as an historian, I think that gives us an important chance to focus. This is a transformative time. This is potentially a watershed moment. And that is challenging, but that can be exciting too. My special field of study, the history of Haskell. So I have borne witness, at least academically, to 140 plus years of adversity, trauma, transition. There are many Native people in this room tonight. These kinds of actions, and I want to reiterate what Dr. Wildcat said, I'm speaking for myself, speaking from my heart, not as a Haskell employee, not as a federal functionary, but for me. Native people have weathered these storms for a long time. And I want you to take heart, because resilience, solidarity, strength, activism, protest, pushback, we've done these things before. We look at the young people who are here tonight, who walk through the halls of Haskell every day. You are the inheritors of those legacies, of both the things they have done to try and beat you down and the things you have done for yourselves to rise up. And I like the comment from student government. Haskell's been here for 140 plus years. There have been many times, even in my 16 years at Haskell, where our morale was very low, where it looked like something horrible could happen. We have endured, we have persevered. And even though we have had this period of revitalization and now they're trying to slap us back down, keep fighting. Keep your voices heard. Make noise. Let them know. This is trust responsibility. This is what they owe you. Indian people have held up their part of the bargain. So don't let them forget to hold up their end, okay? And I appreciate what the elder said. I'm kind of leaning towards getting to that elder status, I guess. But I appreciate what Mr. Kadu said, what Dr. Wildcat said. You know, I like what you said about skin in the game. All the Haskell students, all the Native people, all across the country have skin in the game for Haskell. All the people who got fired, terminated. Federal government's used that term before too, if you know your history. We've survived, we've endured. Yes, you're right, Mr. Posto. There isn't time to wait. We have to fight now. Do it in all those ways that people have suggested here tonight. You, as the Lawrence community, have skin in the game too. Haskell is a unique part of this community. And that's why I'm so happy to see you here tonight. Speak truth to power. Don't lose heart. Keep hope alive. All right?
Seminole, Oklahoma. Another good oldie. I know the English language. An oldie.
Stay Songol, Aonatanian, Judges, Summit Delegate of the Tokios. Hello, how is everybody? I'm Aonatanian, and yes, I'm an enrolled member of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, and I am also part of the Eufaula Band, and I represent the Wim clan and my family. So I just want to say that I'm so thankful to see everybody's face here tonight, seeing all, like, everybody just having support for all of us, and it really does mean a lot. I don't think a lot of you know how much that means to us as students, to the faculty, to the people that weren't able to be here, especially as students, but yeah. I just want to say a few things just because I keep hearing the everybody wanting to say volunteer or bring food. I work at the greenhouse on campus, and there's a few of us that I have a friend over there too that works at the greenhouse, and we were just over there conversating and saying, you know, if there's anything, like if we can host an event and if people would like to bring food, you know, we can say just a community potluck at Haskell, and we can invite everybody to come out and just bring dishes or something, like that would be great. I know it would be very appreciative for a lot of students, but yeah. And I just want to also say one more thing, that, you know, there is kind of this harmful rhetoric going around that I just keep hearing that scared or worried or things like that. And yeah, there is a little bit of that, but there's also a lot of fight. So there are a lot of us that are willing to stand up. There's a lot of us that are willing to say no. There's a lot of us that are willing to say, you know, you're not going to do this to us. You know, this is our education. It is about, you know, we live through as professors, but it's also about losing opportunities. It's also about losing stability. Hello? Losing stability, and also just the future of Native education. And I just want to say that there are so many of us that are willing to stand up and fight. Obviously, there's so many faces in this room right now, but there is that harmful rhetoric going around. But I just want you to know that there are a lot of us that are just willing to be here and stand up and be there for the faculty that we lost, the students that are still here trying to get their education, trying to finish out, because it is a scary time, but we are still here. And I just, you know, somebody did say that there was a message, like people wanted to send us a message because they want us to be scared, but it just tells me that they're more scared than we are. So, yeah. So I just want to say thank you for coming out.
For those of us who'd like to contribute to the foundation, what do we put in the memo line so that they know that this is for making up for jobs, and work at Haskell? I mean, what's the one thing we can say in that memo line, so when they get the check, they know how to spend it?
There you go. Marcy, this lady is Marcy Francisco, one of the longest serving people in the Kansas legislature. In front of our witnesses here, Marcy, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this. In my prayer, I said, yes, we have hope and we pray. But I ask, I want something to happen. We all do. We've heard a lot of frustration here. Governor Kelly is the president of the National Governors Association. Governor Kelly, I'm asking you, I've been a supporter of you as so many of us have. I'm asking you to ask Governor Kelly for a statement, possibly as governor of Kansas and on behalf of the National Governors Association, that she make a statement to the President Trump, King Trump, that this meeting here, for one example, is a cross-section of the Lawrence people, not just Native Americans, a cross-section of all people. I want to ask you to ask Governor Kelly to make a statement in support of Haskell Indian Nations University.
Steve, you and Thad have both been active and responsible members of our community. This is an important request. I will honor it. Governor Kelly has said she wanted to be our education governor. That includes Haskell Indian Nations University.
I know that the time is, but I have another request to speak. I want you to put this on your minds. This is a crazy suggestion, but we need to have some volunteers to form a leadership team to know where we're going from here. So if you're so interested, I want you please to send me an email, if you got a pen, at tjholcomb@gmail.com. And we particularly would like to have some Haskell students involved in this. So it's a joint feature. There's so many things that come. We need to have a central place. We need to do some organizing. It's just the reality that we need to do and to keep a movement going. And we've got to keep this, damn it, we're going to keep it going. All right? All right. Thank you.
Glad to watch today. Good day, everyone. First off, forgive me for being up here and speaking in front of my elders. You know, it is an honor. Lakotia oyate woboki angi machiapi na ias washiji wasir tubos imachiapi. Naha chante washte na pechu zape. Good evening, everybody. My name is Woman Helps Her People in translation in Lakota. But my government name is Sierra Tubles. I am Oglala Lakota from the Oglala Sioux tribe up in Pine Ridge Reservation, South Dakota. That's where I grew up there my whole life. And I'm a proud Lawrencian for the last 12 years. I'm a proud alumna of both Haskell Indian Nations University and University of Kansas. So most of you have heard, of course, I was one of the 38 employees at Haskell that were terminated. I ask you guys to think about this number, 38. Now, maybe most of you natives may hear this number 38. 38 plus 2 Dakota that were hung by US President Abraham Lincoln. And that was the day after Christmas. 1862, I want to say that was the year. Few years before the Wounded Knee massacre that took place where on my homeland, on Pine Ridge Reservation, South Dakota. 38, that's the number that came to my mind, after the shock and the heartbreak and devastation, which still reeling from that, but the number over the weekend is just like, this reminds me of this, and I'm not trying to compare the number 38, because I know that what happened, that was the mass hanging that took place with Dakota, my Dakota relatives in that time. But that came up for me, it's that historical intergenerational trauma, and me being one of the 38 at Haskell that were terminated, that's just that number that came to mind. And, present day times, they didn't hang us, the US government, but it feels like it. Like it taken our livelihoods. Many are parents, they have families to feed. Some of us have chronic illnesses, like myself. I was relying on my job security, and my healthcare benefits, of course, to maintain, so that way I'm not, maintaining this invisible disability that I have. Obviously, looking at me, it doesn't look like I have a disability, but I do in recent years. But so that's the number that came to my mind, and it's been a whirlwind of a week. I know Lawrence Times quoted me with, the Valentine's Day, happening on Valentine's Day, and I heard out there on social media that it was a Valentine's Day massacre, but I was just like, I can see that, but at the same time, it's a little insensitive because, real massacres happen here, and then it made me think of course, the Dakota 38 plus 2, the mass hanging. So it was Valentine's Day, and of course that's a day dedicated to love, right? And to find out I'm terminated right before, in the middle of my class preparation, in the middle of like I'm about to have class, and a day about love, and then it turned into, well, the U.S. government just proved to me it's an absence of love. They don't care, right? And they're not honoring, the treaty and trust responsibilities that, I know Dr. Anderson and Dr. Wildcat had talked about. So that came to my mind, and it's been heavily on my mind like the last week. It's been a week now, but I want to say that there was, I'm seeing the love of our community, right? There's our students, I'm so proud of them. I'm really so much proud of them for stepping in and speaking up, because of course their voices are the most powerful. They can, this is their education, and it was impacted. They may say, oh, it's not impacted that much. You still have staff and faculty there, that's right, but at the same time, as a student that was up here is talking, it's gonna impact their education anyway, and it's critical, just like everywhere across the US, right? All these positions are critical. No one has been let go, and I know I'm speaking towards as Haskell, but across the nation, all thousands of our employees should not have been terminated. It was wrongful, it was unlawful, morally wrong, illegal, it was for political reasons, we know that. So the last week I've been seeing a lot of organizing. I got to attend EAB, Sweat Lodge. I got to see students, protesting at the Capitol, seeing others as well step up for a range of issues that do impact everybody here in some way. And then of course the meeting yesterday, and then now today here. And I'm really thankful for you all holding this space for us. It means a lot to us. And I know I'm not the only one, here today. I see a few of my colleagues who were let go or being terminated. They're here, we're here, we see you guys, we love it. I just cannot tell you how much I appreciate you all. And I know there's talks of volunteering. there's so many ways to give back, and then I know everybody has already said what they needed to say on that. It's holding the space now, and then of course continue to call our representatives. I know I've been nonstop calling every day, and I just actually wrote a comment to the virtual town hall tomorrow at 1 with Senator Moran, obviously urging him to urge the Department of Interior to rescind the layoffs so that we can get our jobs back. I hope we do. You know, this fight isn't over. One thing comes to mind too is Kendrick Lamar said this a couple weeks ago. The revolution will not be televised. You picked the right time with the wrong guy. And I felt that. I was like, pick the wrong person. I'm Oglala Kota, I'm a wild Oglala. We organize, we're out there too, so I'm fired up. You know, as soon as I receive my termination letter, I'm fired up. So I've been gathering my colleagues, you know, hopefully we'll meet soon and, you know, move forward. Well, if you guys know of any lawyers, right, any direct contact, I'd appreciate it. You guys can just let me know. I'll be here if you want to come up and see me and give me that information, because I know we're going to need that. Having our love for our community, but also just having that information that'll get us started for filing a lawsuit anyway. So, Wopila Tonka, great thanks to you all for being here.